let me tell you, I didn't even know how to spend money on myself. I was very good at giving, but when it came to myself, Bado, I was the girl who wanted to go and get the top for 30 bob. Do you get? Because it almost felt like, wait, I can enter somewhere and buy something for 1,000 bob, you get? Yeah, but growing up, we didn't have conversations around money. So started out in a stock brokerage.
Yeah.
Did there about 2 years, 2.5.
Yeah.
Moved out of stock brokerage, went to a fund management company. Did another 2.5 years there. I have seen gentlemen who got into insurance from being a hawker in town, in the CBD, a hawker. And you see that kid earning, what, 7 figures?
Hi, did you know that there is a huge opportunity in creating wealth through insurance? Shock on you. I used to think that insurance is only for protecting wealth, like car insurance, house insurance. I'm learning that other than protecting your wealth through insurance, there is also an opportunity to create wealth. And today, we're so blessed to have an amazing guest who will take us through this journey. She is an award-winning AKI qualifier. How many times? 5, 6, 7, I think 10. Yes. And she led the medical insurance in 2024. She was #1 in the country. She was also #4 in business life insurance. I know those terminologies are many, but I'll put them on the chart so that you can understand. And top on the list, she belongs to the $1 million round table for insurance people. And I will put that information there. So we're dealing with a global leader when it comes to insurance. We're dealing with a global creme de la creme, a guru in this space. Help me welcome Mama Bima.
Thank you. Hello, Abby. Thank you so much. Oh, that was big. I love that. I think it still rings. It just has this beautiful ring to it.
Yeah.
You know, 5 years into the business, listening to the accolades, because in this business, sometimes you run like you are always on the move. So you don't get enough time to really sit down and let it all sink in. But thank you for that intro. So yes, hi everyone. I'm Charlene Kimara, professionally known as Mama Bima Kenya. I'm a mom, a wife, and a passionate insurance advisor. And I'm on a mission, Abby. Passionate insurance advisor. And my mission is very simple and very clear, to ensure that no family, no individual, no businesses are left uninsured. So we are on a mission to protect what matters.
Wow.
Yes.
And I'm so excited to have you in this space.
Yes.
For those who don't know, I had started my career in the accounting world for 8 years. Yes. And then I did 8 years in the insurance industry, where I learned so much about wealth creation, protection. And then I have another 6 now in the wealth management industry. So across the streets, I landed on the photos of this beautiful woman when I was doing a photo shoot. And when I learned about her name, Mama Bima, first of all, it was so intriguing. I was like, huh? Mama Bima.
Yes.
Global. I need to meet you because insurance means so much to me. It's where I was trained. It's where I was, nurtured. After 8 years of sitting behind a desk and pushing paper and pushing invoices, and I'll give my story one day, it was insurance people that worked in the office, and I saw them looking so good, driving sleek cars, smelling designer perfumes, and I was like, wait a second, are you guys drug dealers or what is this? And the more they came and talked to me, when my journey ended on that side and I saw the opportunity in this industry, I came. So for me, it has a soft spot, and I know there's a lot we can talk about today. But before we get there, who is Mama Bima? Who is Charlene away from the brand? Or can you tell us who is Charlene first, and then who is Mama Bima? maybe how your journey started.
Yes.
Or we can start from all the way from a little girl. Which background did you grow in?
Yes.
And how did you end up in the world of insurance?
Okay. And this takes me back to my beautiful, sleepy village of Kapuruge. I really love my village. I think I mentioned, I'm always name dropping my village. Somewhere tucked in Maragua, so Muranga County. Grew up in, you know, just that sort of like, could you say just normal Kenyan home? Yeah. I was a child of a farmer. Not a child, one out of four.
Yes.
Yeah, a daughter of a farmer.
Yeah.
But a very economically challenged background. I mean, I know that's what, a euphemism for, you know, a poor family. Like I grew up in a lot of poverty. We really did in our village. But I was fortunate. My dad was very keen on how, you know, like us getting proper education. So I'm one of those girls who, back in the day when we'd be put on the newspaper for good performance, like there was a newspaper that was in our village cafe, like if you can call it that way. Ilikuwa mkahawa ya Baba Masharia, and they would buy Taifa Leo, Daily Nation. That day, they actually bought Daily Nation. Normally they would buy Taifa Leo, but that day they bought Daily Nation because their child was on the papers.
Wow.
So I think school played a huge role, you know, from bringing me from a background that was so disadvantaged, thrusting me to a really good school. By the way, I went to Alliance.
Oh my God, congrats. I learned today, I just discovered just now, we were having a ball before this podcast started, by the way.
Yes.
And you said Alliance, and I was like, oh my God, why am I learning this today?
Yeah, I was a Busharian. And I think if there's something
so beauty with brains.
Yeah, hapo sasa. So yes, I went to Bush. And I think what that did for me, coming from a very small village, then being thrust into this school, you know, the reality that a lot of people don't talk about is Alliance just felt like a school for like really wealthy kids. You get like really every other person around you, either their parent worked maybe at the UN, or their dad was a big minister in government, or their dad was the speaker of the, you know, National Assembly, you know. But I think going to a national school, especially back in the day, you pretty much meet the face of Kenya. You realize, you know, that because you've come from this little village and you meet people from all walks of life. You meet girls from Kisumu, from Mombasa, you know, places you had maybe heard of them in geography and history, but you had not really encountered. And it starts to open, you know, just your mind. And, you know, going to such a school gives you also an opportunity now to go to university, and you know, you're the first of many kids, like even just within the village, you know, to go to uni. But I think all along, there was a theme of just poverty and lack. Like in my case, just lack. Like, and when I talk of lack, it's not lucky, like L-U-C-K, I'm talking of L-A-C-K,
sheer luck.
You know, like always knowing, you know, always knowing that you are disadvantaged in a way. You're not really like other people. So like now uni, I pretty much took myself through UON. And I was the kid that people never really knew my background. Like nobody really knew like I was poor. My best friend, she's called Sylvia. I remember the first time I took her home. Tulienda ushago kwetu, like home kwa dad. We got there. Sylvia cried. Like she could not believe
that this is where you come from.
Yes. Wow. You know, so in Campo, you know, so you've come in, you've fitted in. Thank God there's help. Let's start from there. So you, and of course, throughout campus, I was forever working. I always had gigs, funny enough. If there's one thing that I keep saying, God has always been there in my journey. God, and I always feel like God colludes with the universe to ensure at least I get an opportunity. So I remember there was this lady called Barbara who kept me on her payroll like throughout campus. She used to run like an events company, and I was always working like on Saturdays, on Sundays at events, So I always had like a 500 bob every day that I'm working. On weekdays, especially when my mornings were not too heavy, Barbara would get me gigs. So somehow I got through uni. People actually thought I was a kid from a very,
rich family.
rich family. But I think, you get to Nairobi and you just learn to adapt. And you learn mashimo za gikomba. So mnaamka mapema with your friends, you run, get your cute pink tees, for like 30 bob or a sock. So you look good, but behind it all, you really know what it's taking for you to put together your school fee. You know what it's taking for you to put together that 6K to pay for accommodation to Katuva. Like, you always know your situation is not really like everyone else. Like Akina Sylvia, like their parents come through for them. Their parents, like not really come through for them. They are able to provide for them. So I think behind the scenes, I was always very aware. So I was the kid who, yes, I lived a normal campus life. Like we went out to Dunda with my friends, but we would come back on Saturday morning. And by 10, I was at JKML in my little corner in the library studying. Because I knew that I had to hit that first class. I had been told an A in campus. When I joined uni, I asked the academic registrar, what do we call an A in university? He told me it's called a first class honors. And I knew from day one, I had to get this first class. Come rain, come sunshine. So on my transcripts, if you see my uni transcripts, like literally, like semester after semester, you just see A's, because in my head, I just knew I had to maintain clean A's because at the end of the day, I needed this, first class honors, the A for university. So uni went well. I double majored in literature and communication. And then at the end of uni, the university sent me to Japan for a year for an exchange program. I graduated top of my class. So I went for an exchange program for a year. Then I came back, and I would say now that's now my professional career started. Yes, but I think that's maybe my background. It was my early years. It's what I'm telling you. There was I always knew something was a little bit off. At my very young years, I'd say primary school, I didn't realize that. But I think going into high school, you start realizing, oh, wow, parents are able to do that much shopping. You get, and you literally, you've gone back to school without any supplies. Like you're funded by social welfare, for like just for your sanitary towels, for your tissue, you get. And then you see, maybe it's visiting day, and one girl is being taken to the dorms by the siblings, and they're all carrying these big Nakumat paper bags. And they're like 6 kids carrying, everyone with a paper bag. And you're thinking, oh my God, like, wow. So, okay, and I get emotional. And by the way, you have to forgive me, I am a crier. No. But I love to reflect on that.
I love that story so much.
Because it also just reminds me how far I've come. And also for me to stay humble. You get? Like not to lose, like just to stay present.
There's some tissue in the white bag. Oh, it's here actually.
Yes.
Give me.
Just.
I came ready.
Yes, you came ready.
Because I know you.
If we talk about our roots, oh yeah. But every time I reflect back on just how far I've come, I get happy. Because I'm reminded that even kids like me, you get, because we are many really. I mean, in our country, not many of us really have opportunities, but it just reminds you, just trust the process and just keep getting at it. Eventually, hopefully, something, will work out for us too. Yeah.
And I love that you have given us that background because it will help somebody out there who probably by the end of this conversation thought there was no hope for them. because of probably their background, where they come from. I like to talk a lot about my background.
Yes.
I mean, this whole channel or Wealth Hub Empire is about authenticity and being vulnerable so that the other person can learn from you. And we are not talking enough about our roots and the opportunities we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
So I love that, and it's good that now we understand behind all these awards that I have mentioned, behind the beautiful face, Mama Bima, behind all these things that you're trying to do, where did this person come from? So thank you, you did a very good job there.
Thank you.
So the next question would probably be, how did you, and you can do it now, transition us to now where you are right now.
Yes.
Like you went to Diane Blair, then to the bank, then how did you find that there's an opportunity in the insurance industry?
Okay.
Yeah.
So started out
sales,
in finance.
sales. Let's call it sales.
Sales.
We're being very modest in the insurance industry.
Someone could think I'm an underwriter.
It is sales and marketing.
Yes.
Yes.
So started out in a stock brokerage.
Yeah.
Did there about 2 years, 2.5.
Yeah.
Moved out of stock brokerage, went to a fund management company. Did another 2.5 years there. And lastly, my job was at an investment bank. Okay. I did 3 years. And at this point, I had just become a mom. I was a new mom. My baby had just turned 1.
Yeah.
And after my baby arrived, so the one thing that I've not mentioned so far is, you know, when you're that one kid, mwenye amepenya, and you are on a mission to also ensure that your people come with you. You're not about to leave your loved ones behind. You get. And remember, we come from big families. So you have siblings, your siblings. Also now you have nephews and nieces. And the situation for a long time, you're getting by, you know, you're sharing the little you have. But the kids are growing. And you really understand the value of good education. You get. So you're really unajifinya sana to ensure your nephews and nieces are going to good schools. So my black tax has always been.
You keep telling me that.
And I don't even call it black tax, let me tell you. I don't, and I just use the term black tax because, you know, nowadays it's something that you cannot miss.
It's the language.
It's the language out there. But
we can call it your giving has always been very high.
Yes, my giving has always been very high.
Yeah.
And it's just simple, by the way, for me, Abby. Even how I went through, say, a school like Alliance, because that school was not cheap, especially back then. I remember my mom, in most cases, would only afford to put together like 1,000 bob for school fee and send me to school. And you know how you would get to school? You're chased back home. She looks for another 1,000, like school fee ni 30-something, possibly. Umepewa 1,000.
Yeah.
You get. And it actually took a girl in my class to literally talk to her dad to be paying my school fee. And every time I reflect, she's called Judy, and every time I reflect on that, I'm like, at 14, at 15, where did that come from? I didn't ask her to talk to her father, by the way. And even this gentleman, when he was making this payment for school fee, he didn't even know me. I think he just trusted his daughter. So he goes to the bank, I'm sure, when he's paying school fee, and pays for 2 children, his own and this other girl.
Wow.
You get. Yeah. So when it comes to giving, sometimes I just feel, you know, I think also now, when you have come from that kind of background, every time I look at, I was supposed to join Campo in 2006, but because there was literally zero money at home, I didn't join campus. I was to go to Moi Uni, and until one of my aunties realized, Shikwe hakwenda shule, you get. She took me now to the University of Nairobi, to the academic registrar, to see if now in the next year they would give me admission and move my admission now from Moi to the University of Nairobi. So I've always had like also angels like in my path throughout all these years, who ensure that, you know, God uses them. You get. So even for me, I'm like, honestly, the least I could do is also ensure that as I'm building, as I'm growing, as I'm getting all these opportunities in life, I also don't want to leave.
You help others.
You know, I want to ensure that we move pamoja.
And we're going to talk about that giving towards the end.
Yes.
Like I was telling you earlier on, there's wealth creation.
Yes.
Through making money. I like to call them the 3 M's.
Yes.
The making money, the managing money, and then the multiplying money. But inside those 3 M's, there's a lot of giving most people who have made it that do, but they don't talk about. So at the end, remind me, we're going to talk about
the giving,
the essence or the importance of being a giver.
Yes.
As you're building wealth. Actually, when it comes to the heavenly kingdom, I believe with all of my heart, and I told you earlier that I am feeling like we need to talk about this giving aspect more oftenly, because I feel like it has a hidden internal power that people don't know about. But I want to take you back and ask you just one question before we move to now your career in the insurance industry. Was money talked about in your family? What do you remember in your household? Did you have conversations about money? What was the first time? When did you interact with money the first time? What was formed during your growing up in terms of money? Were there conversations?
There was zero conversation on money because there was no money. Please, let's start from there. There was, honestly, Abby,
there was no money.
Let me try paint it for you.
Yeah.
I grew up where one particular Christmas, 1996.
I'm not this is the last one. We're not going to go back there. Because I'm noticing when we go back there,
the tears come.
The tearjerkers,
1996 Christmas.
Yeah.
You go throughout the day, zero food, like nothing. And at night, nakula gidheria 1, 2, 3. That literally, I think my dad akatafuta until he managed to go to, there was, I can't remember that gentleman. We called her Ninawa Muirore. She went to her, she used to have a cafe. Okay, they're not cafes, ni mkahawa. Hapo tu kwa nini village. And I think Ninawa Muirore gave him the last of the githeri that was there. So when I talk of, that is not an environment where you have conversations around money. And I think the first time I touched money was probably now properly. After high school. There's an aunt of mine who took me in, Polly,
it's okay.
in Nairobi West. And I got, because I had just gotten a merchandising job at Nakumatt Mega, and my aunt used to live in Nairobi West, so I would live, like I would just stay at hers and just cross over, to work. And I think that's the first time, you know, those jobs where you'd be paid like 200 per day, and I just felt so good, So started seeing a little bit of money, and now I think going into campus, and the very first time now I got help, that was so mind-blowing. I had never seen, you know, where you have an account. I remember back then, you know, umefungua bank account, and you go with your ATM and you check, and I think help used to come in like 17,500, thereabout. Like it just used to blow my mind. But I think from university especially, and now starting also to do my side jobs, you know, and doing a job once in a while that will pay you 500 per day, sometimes even 1,000 bob, you know, you start realizing, you know what, I'm making some money and I can put together this money. So for a long time, let me tell you, I didn't even know how to spend money on myself. I was very good at giving, but when it came to myself, Bado, I was the girl who wanted to go and get the top for 30 bob. Do you get? Because it almost felt like, wait, I can enter somewhere and buy something for 1,000 bob, you get? Yeah, but growing up, we didn't have conversations around money. Yeah, because I think there wasn't money to be talked about. Yeah.
So you've had to train yourself along the way on how to handle money, how to... I feel good that we have handled this earlier, because I had thought we would bring it up where I wanted to understand why you give so much and what's the thought process behind it. And now I understand. It's because earlier on you saw a lot of need, you grew in a lot of lack, and then you probably had, the body keeps count. Take records. You had a record in your head whereby the day you are going to make it, you're going to help somebody else. And you're doing a very, very good job.
Thank you.
Now, I really want us to go back to the insurance.
Yes, how I got into the industry.
I don't know how we do this, whether as a career first or we go to, let's first start with a career. Why did you choose insurance?
So we've talked of my last gig was, professionally, was at an investment bank. So my baby has come into the picture, she's turned 1. And the one thing I really had at the back of my mind, so I'm a big dreamer. Okay, and I always know if I work hard, something will give. But when I was at the investment bank, I was earning decently because I was at a gross of about 191,000. Net, when everything was removed, it used to be, I think, 128K. But that 128, because of all the expenses I had, and taking care of people at home, like I was always at 0. And then now my baby comes into the picture, and all the dreams I had at the point, I really wanted her to go to, like for school, I wanted her to start out at Shani, and then I wanted her to go to Kianda school. So I would just, ask around, say, like for the school fee in those schools, then I'd be like, hey, tutaweza kweli, you get. I'd look at my income and I'm like, I don't think this will happen. Now, what I did mention is, I got married to an insurance agent in 2015. Yes, so 10 years in now. And especially now when our baby came, I got to interact more with his colleagues. Because, insurance people, the industry. It's vibrant.
It is.
And people love each other in this business.
Oh,
you have a community, like your branch is your family. So when they would come, Kushika Mtoto, it's what you said, like when you were in accounting. So you're seeing these people and you're like, are you just fronting to be doing insurance and mnafanya vitu za magendo? Because insurance people, there is an opportunity within this business. And a solid opportunity to really also make some good money. So when my baby just arrived and I would see these girls come into our home, notably one girl called Njoki, one day she drove into our compound with this big Mercedes and she gets into the house and this gentleman called Karuno screams, the newest millionaire in town, and I'm thinking, hold up. What?
That little girl is a millionaire.
And she comes in and the hair that she has on her head, and she just, you're like, ni Beyonce ameingia kwa nyumba yangu, ama what's happening? You get. And I think your eyes start opening up to this career, this insurance sales especially, is a field that, I love that our field is not a respecter of persons, but it respects hard work. It's you come in, you put in the work, and it gives you an opportunity to really reap. If you put in, then you reap in almost equal measure to the effort you've put in. So I would say now 2019, that's when now I was really feeling, I need to get out of this 191
You
each
need
month.
expansion.
Yes. I knew in another 2 years my baby was about to get into school, and we couldn't have afforded the kind of school we wanted for her with where we were at the time. So I felt I needed to do something drastic. I needed also to move careers and go to a place where I could now get an opportunity to also make good money.
To make unlimited income.
And that was the key motivator at the time. Of course, you get into the industry and realize it's more than just money. you realize you get to see the impact. But I think the first thing that drew me in were the successful girls. Seeing young girls and realizing it's not the first class or whatever papers you have. It's not that. It's ingia kwa, just and get into the field and jitume.
And you know what I'm loving about this conversation, Charlene, is it looks like a full circle moment for me. Because when I was making those shifts and turns and twists and trying to look for better opportunities more, I used to think it's a me thing.
Yes.
I didn't think there's another soul somewhere like you and many other people who are like, this cannot be it. We can't just be sitting behind desks and getting this kind of an amount. And then what? So after I asked myself those questions, I made the next step, which comes with a bit of risk. And that's why I want us to stay here a bit and speak to somebody. I see a lot of messages in my DM saying, my finances are bad. They are terrible. I am not even making it for food. I don't have school fees for my children. And these are people with degrees. 2 degrees, double degrees. For Australia, by the way, international degrees. And they are just sitting there waiting for that salary. And let me burst a bubble here and a myth as we continue. I think your company doesn't owe you anything other than what they can afford to pay you. Like during COVID time, and I like to tell my customers, the young ones, they really would have wanted to add us income, but they couldn't because the companies were barely making it. So it's upon us to think, what can I do to change my situation? There's even a lot of stories in the Bible of people who are desperate, but they had to do something. And I don't want to go preachy today, but I want us to speak to a lady out there, maybe a 28-year-old, a 35-year-old, or early 40s, young mother, babies in school or baby born, and they're just feeling trapped in a job that doesn't pay you enough. In a toxic environment. You know, I love to talk about this because I've been a recipient. I have received properly. And I'm a stickler, by the way, I'm a loyalist. My first employment, I stayed 8 years. My second one, 8 years. And now, currently, another 6 years. So you can see I stick around. But then again, after you stick around, then what? So speak to us and tell us if you were to speak to that girl once again, that had just gotten a baby, or think about somebody who right now is feeling like it's hard to even wake up on Monday and go for that job, because that's not what life is all about. We were created and loaded with talents. Like, I learned a long time ago that I love conversations. Even in high school, people used to love sitting next to me because I'll be talking the whole time. If I'm not talking about my grandmother, I'm talking about my cousins. If I'm not talking about that, I'm singing. So later on in life, I'm paid to talk. So you see, it was not hidden, but it was hidden. So what can you tell somebody who hates their job, but they are very educated, they're earning very badly, but they just don't know what to do? Is there an opportunity for that kind of a person?
Within the insurance business?
Within the sales industry.
Yes. So, and I'm happy we are having this conversation with you, Abby, because our industry has really gate-kept the opportunities
you were
that
telling me
are
earlier
within insurance. And that's why I love to just scream at the top of my voice. Like when I'm doing content, I'll even do a whole YouTube video just for insurance agents, like dedicated to somebody who may be keen on knowing what opportunities are within this business. Let me tell you, when you're in Nairobi traffic and you see some V8s cruising by, or some Range Rovers,
they belong to salespeople,
or Maybachs, and
like a good number of them. Not all of them. A good number of them.
The first Maybach I got into in this country, okay, not the first, it's the only one I've ever gotten into, is owned by an insurance agent. You get, and I keep saying, you know, when you see Jaguars going about, when you see people living in posh places like Karen and Runda and Loresho, and you realize those are some of the homes you are able to get into because you've gone to visit a colleague, like people who have done so well for decades, you know, like they have just been at the top of their earning game, prime earning. I keep saying we are in an industry where even just the insurance penetration, it barely even hits 3%. When you talk of life insurance, it's at what, 1.16%? I keep saying there's
Sorry,
still
life insurance?
1.16.
And general insurance?
Oh, general just keeps coming down. One minute we are 2.7, the next you see statistics we are 2.4. Really sad, you know. I think Kenyans in general, we are very underinsured. And we just don't have as many dedicated insurance agents in the business, okay? And I keep saying, there is an opportunity because this is a business where you come in. Of course, when you're starting off, it can get hard because, you know, it's commission-based.
Yeah.
It's commissions. So if you are probably in a place right now, it's always good to know, will I cold turkey it? That may be tough. I was quite fortunate. I was quite fortunate.
Cold turkey.
You cold turkey from
cold turkey
accounting?
From accounting to sales.
And how long did it take you, by the way, to find your footing?
Oh my goodness. Do you want me to go there?
Yes.
I think for me to make the first sale, it took 6 months. But at least I had some, let me mention, I had some savings, some pension that I was paid out, the early pension, the one you pull out, and then some circle savings. So I was okay, but it was so tough at the beginning. But towards the end of the year, I was already a manager.
Oh, wow.
I was already leading a team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Oh, but yeah, it's Abby, by the way.
I had already made a resolve.
Yes.
Like for me, I am coming out. You see, I had done 8 years.
Yes.
So now coming out ni kuenda.
Yes.
There's no turning back.
Yes.
But I also had seen a lot of ladies like the ones we were mentioning, driving big cars, doing very well. So for me, I used them as my not rear view, my. Of course, I could see where I'm coming from, but I use them as my goal or apex or whatever. Like I could tell myself, if they are making it, I can also make it. And I felt like I could talk better in terms of being articulate and bringing a point across. So yeah, it took me a while, but I no regrets.
So I cold turkey too, but I was quite fortunate because my husband was in insurance. So we talked about it. Yes, and we agreed that, you know what, our 128 net is about to go. So naomba utushikilie. Tushikilie until I can get onto my feet. So for someone out there and they're thinking, you know, could I go try, you know, could I check out what the industry is like? One thing I keep saying about our business, insurance is the one place, you know, if you walk into an underwriting company and ask for a sales job, you will never be turned away. By the way, do you know that's it?
The job's available daily.
There is a job available at any point. Even if you enter at 5, trust me, you'll probably leave there with a contract. And I love that about this. I have seen gentlemen who got into insurance from being a hawker in town, in the CBD, a hawker. And you see that kid earning, what, 7 figures? Like rise up, you know, over the years. And he just brings in here, you know, that persuasion that he would also do when maybe he was hawking clothes and everything, and comes in, equips himself, you know, with tie now, starts to dress really well, and anajituma. You know, those people who by 6:30 they're already in meetings. So I keep saying, I think there's a huge opportunity. We've kept the opportunity for too long, so it's time we start talking about it. We start showing people that this is a field where you can come in and say, by next month or by month 3, I want to have grown my income, say, to 50K. And after that, I want to re-goal, and I want now to see how I can get it to 100 and how I can get it to 200. And I just feel like there's no per se ceiling or limit to just how much you can grow that.
All right. And thank you for that. And just to add on that, it's not just in the insurance industry the jobs are available. The entire wealth management requires advisors, consultants, and if you want more information on that, either in the insurance industry or in the wealth management industry, we do have what we call independent financial advisors, and those what they do, they learn what we do, but they now don't do it in-house, they go and do it out there, but we equip them. But it's important for people to know, because I needed to answer that question today. What do I do about my income? My boss has refused to add me money. They may never. So you have to take initiative and ask yourself, additionally, what can I do during the evenings on Saturday? Like today is a Saturday. We're shooting on a Saturday.
Yes. And we are working, literally.
And we are working. Sometimes we shoot on a Sunday because during this woman is busy. My God, you blue tick me like.
No.
But at least you do what I'm saying.
Yes.
So this is me summarizing this section because we're very passionate about extra income, unlimited income, being paid for your hours. It's imperative, kizungu mzuri, it's imperative for you to take action when you have discomfort. We're not saying that people should just quit and just go and struggle. No. We're just saying do a calculative move.
Yes.
Cold turkey is good when it's really, really bad, but also you can plan yourself for 6 months, for a couple of whatever. And the gospel is even other people, creatives, graphic designers, hoteliers, au pairs. If you're not happy where you are, you have to take initiative and ask yourself, how do I make extra income?
And I love that. And even for somebody, say, who's currently, say, in an 8 to 5, now you could ask yourself, what can I even do past 5 and over the weekends? Come, start acquiring your sales skills. You know, get into a team. Maybe get to understand 1-2 products nicely. Start with your current social networks, because there are good underwriters in the market who are really open to literally accommodating what you have said, IFAs. I am an IFA, by the way, to date. If there's one thing that I hang on to, is the fact that I'm independent. So I'm able to work with different insurance companies without being in-house. You get? So I have my independence. I can sell for whoever I want. And I think it's a good way, especially for someone maybe who has another gig. You can come in, start off as an IFA, give yourself some 3 months, give yourself maybe 6 months to just see, you know, because you could get to a point where in those 6 months, maybe even your income on this other side is beating, you know, your 8 to 5, and you're like, what if I could give this now full time? What if this could be my main gig? Yes.
And I love talking about that whole soft finance. In summary, like you don't have to toil so hard, dusk to dawn. It starts that way. All of us start, and I know I'm preaching to the choir. But at some point you have to ask yourself serious questions. 4 years down the line, 5 years down the line, I'm still earning this amount. What are we going to do about it? Because it's going to affect your children, it's going to affect your husband, it's going to affect your relatives who depend on you, because they are ours. Even me, I've not been loving the black tax story because I'm a giver. But I always try to think of how can we be able to empower people so they can earn more to help more, because helping is good. So before I leave that, we are just about to get to the meat of the conversation. Charlene is here to talk to us about how to build wealth in insurance. But before we leave this conversation, somebody could be wondering, I've just mentioned you're very busy. You've told us you have a husband, and you have a child, and you have a team. You lead a branch of financial advisors. How do you balance? How do you do it? What's your mantra when it comes to having it all? Hitting it high in the career industry, in your industry, insurance sales, and also as a mother and as a wife.
I've not yet figured that out, honestly. Balance, still a foreign word for me. But I know I'm very keen on my role as a mom, for sure. I start my day with my daughter. I drop her to school.
I always wonder. I've asked for myself. I always wonder, by the way, when I look at you
balance, guys. Tricky. But at least I ensure that, you know, I'm not overly delegating my role. My motherhood, not possible to delegate that. Fortunately, I work with my husband, so we are together the entire time. People always ask me, I'm Choki Huku, like you don't, you know. No, we love it. We have a great team at Places Insurance Agency. We have now a team of 7, and then now Joe and I. I also have a team that I lead, but what I have learned over time, I believe in investing in my business. Okay? So as to give me enough time to do the creative part of the business. And I think creative part of the business for us is the sales part.
That again. Preach to me.
I believe in investing in my business.
Yes.
And investing in my business is in the form of, one, for example, when I onboard a client, for example, let's say medical insurance, okay? Our very first employee, we were able to headhunt him from one of the leading medical insurance companies in the country. And the one thing we noted about this young man, he was so diligent. When we would send in like an application, we had record time sometimes that he would do he would process everything and send us policy documents in 30 minutes. And it used to be like, huh? Like, what does this kid do? Because in other companies, we would struggle to get documents out. Like 1 week later, we are still sending polite reminders, like, you know. And I remember always telling Joe, my hubby, Aki ile siku tutapata just some extra money, you know, where we know we can honestly afford to run payroll for this guy, get him his medical, get him his pension. You get, because now you're competing with proper benefits given by an employer. Yeah. So you cannot come and, you know, you cannot play with the kind of take home for this kind of colleague. Yes. So I have learned over time to invest in the business by getting good people to join the team who then support you. Because what that in essence does for you, then there's a good client experience, you know? And as long as your people, as long as your team feel they are motivated, they're taken well, like you take good care of them, you know? Also, their take home is competitive. I ensure I am always on the lookout, and I ensure that I remain very competitive because I know at the very foundational layers of the business, because I would still say we are in the foundational layers of our business. Yeah. It's one thing to get all these, you know, sort of like decorated accolades, you know, okay. But we are not yet there. It's still foundation stage. Yes. But at this point, you want to ensure you get the right people to support you, to support the business, to support your clients. So it means you have to really dig deep into the pockets. You have to, you know, yes, something is coming in, but a lot of it is still going out. Okay. You get. Okay. But I believe that with time, now there will come a time where now there can be some surplus.
Some fruits.
Yes, yes.
So what I'm hearing is invest in a team of experts.
Yes.
Like, don't be a do-it-all.
Yes.
And this is speaking so much to me because sometimes I feel like it's too much, running around with the paperwork, all that. And there's a book I read, Atomic Habits. Is it the one for James Clear where he says we fall to the level of our systems, not to... there's a way that statement goes. We always fall to the level of our systems. You can have goals, even a vision board that is digital, that switches off when you enter your living room and you can see it on the phone, in the car, it's talking to you. But if you don't have systems, you're going to be burnt out. Yes. And we are against that burnout, by the way. Yes. Making money when you're burnt out, that's not a good idea. We are rebelling against that burnout. Yes. It's not our portion. So thank you for answering that way. And I'm really eager for us to get to talking about the investment part of insurance. I don't know whether that's the correct English. Yes. But I also want to tackle something, Charlene, because I know you can do it. What would you tell a homestead or a couple who the woman is earning more? First, start it this way. How important is your partner when it comes to wealth creation? Yes. And number 2 question, when you find yourself as a woman or you as a husband, your wife is earning more, and there's a reason why I'm asking you this question, because in the sales world, someone can earn 13 million in 1 month suddenly. Yes. What does the husband do in that particular time, and how do you ensure as a woman you maintain the respect or the code of agreement that you had? What's your take on that?